What's up, my comic comrades? Today we're bringing you another alternate versions episode where we break down several different versions of a character in comics. Because let's face it, there's a bunch of different realities and continuities in comic books, and today we're taking a look at the different versions of Professor X. Now, of course, we have to start this off the same way we start all these alternate versions episodes, with the main version of the character all the other versions are based on. And that would be the main Charles Xavier from Earth 616, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, first appearing in X-Men issue 1 in September of 1963. This is the Charles Xavier we all know and love, who founded Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. There's also something else he founded and created. I just can't put my finger on it. What else is he known for? It's something with mutants. The X-Men. He created the X-Men. Anyway, we all know about this version of Professor X. It's the main version we read about in the comics. We've also seen him in the 90s X-Men animated series and countless other movies and cartoon series. So let's move on to some alternate versions, shall we? First up, we have the Age of Apocalypse Xavier. In the Age of Apocalypse universe, Xavier was killed when he sacrificed himself to save Magneto from his future son. His future son would be David Haller, aka Legion. You see, Legion wanted to go back in time and kill his father Magneto, hoping to change his father. But you see, time travel never turns out the way you want it to, as like I said a second ago, he ended up killing Xavier instead. As a result, Magneto founded the X-Men and was the one who wanted human-mutant coexistence, but in the name of Xavier. Magneto even named his new son that he had with Rogue Charles after he lost his friend. One thing led to another, and Legion messing with the time stream prompted the release of Apocalypse decades before the world was ready to face him. This resulted in Apocalypse conquering North America and pretty much the entire world. But eventually, Magneto and the X-Men tried to get enough power to go back in time and save Xavier from Legion, as they realized that Charles was a very important part to the future. Moving along, we have one of my favorite alternate universes in all of Marvel, the Marvel Zombies universe. In the Marvel Zombies one-shot, Marvel Zombies Dead Days, we see Alpha Flight, who are all zombies now, attack the X-Mansion. And during said fight with the X-Men, Storm tells the X-Men they got to the Professor. They ate him. They ripped him to pieces. However, he's only mentioned in the issue. We never see him. We wouldn't see him until Marvel Zombies Return issue 5. In this, we see another alternate Xavier who is zombified, but this time turned into a human detection system who is wired into Cerebro. Literally, his brain is permanently wired into Cerebro to help the zombies find any remaining humans on Earth. It's pretty gruesome, but awesome at the same time. Next up, we have the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Like, not as in the definitive Marvel Universe, it's literally called the Ultimate Marvel Universe. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, in the Alternate Marvel Universe, or continuity, Professor X is the world's most powerful telepath, and yet again, he is the founder of the X-Men. One of the biggest contrasts, though, between the Ultimate version and the main version of Professor X is that he's publicly open about himself being a mutant from the start. He also married Moira McTaggart, and with her created a new therapy and surgical techniques for mutants. In this continuity, Charles also lost his ability to walk, but this time Magneto crippled him with a metal shard through his spine. Then in contrast to the main Professor X, the Ultimate version repeatedly messes with people's minds to reach his own goals. With that said, he does recognize this is wrong, but he still does it anyway. Moving right along, we have House of M Professor X. This is the universe where the Scarlet Witch altered reality so that Magneto could rule over the Earth, with mutants being the dominant species. At first, when Scarlet Witch rewrote all of reality, Professor X was thought to be dead, but when Cloak searched his grave, there was no body. This mystery was left open until House of M Civil War. This comic detailed history of Professor X and Magneto in this world. We find out that Xavier tracked down Magneto, who in this reality was attempting to stop oppression on mutants by declaring war on all humans. However, while doing this, Xavier saved Magneto's life from a sniper and then joined him. Xavier did this hoping that his actions would persuade Magneto into a positive direction. However, this did not work, and Magneto became more bloodthirsty while Xavier became crippled during a mutant takeover in Genosha. To this end, the two grew apart, but Xavier found himself trying to stop a pissed off Bucky Barnes from assassinating Magneto, which led to Bucky stabbing Xavier through the chest. As for the body, we don't know what happened. Keeping this Xavier train moving, we have XMen Noir. In this reality, Xavier is a psychiatrist who runs the Xavier School for Exceptionally Wayward Youth in Westchester, New York, where he takes in juvenile delinquents, but no matter what universe Professor X is in, he just cannot stop there. No, he's got to train them to do something, right? So when he takes these delinquent kids in, instead of reforming them, he actually trains them in criminal Talents. Why? Because he believes that psychopathy is the next state in human behavioral evolution. Dude even went so far to write a paper about this, which led to his expulsion from the American Psychological Association. He was then sent to Rikers Island after the truth leaked out about his reform school. You know, because apparently society didn't take well to him taking in misguided kids and making them worse. Next on the list, we have Deadpool Corps Professor X from Earth 10330. We see him appear in Prelude to Deadpool Corps, issue 2. In this issue, Deadpool goes to the universe where Xavier runs an orphanage for troubled boys that includes Kidpool, Wolverine, Angel, Cyclops, and more. We also learn that Storm is the headmistress and Beast is a teacher at the school. But since this is a Deadpool comic, of course there has to be some humor, and we find out that Professor X likes Emma Frost in this reality, who runs an orphanage for girls that Jean Grey and Rogue attend. The funny part is, though, that Charles tries to get Emma's attention by wearing wigs. He also throws a dance party for both orphanages, but when it doesn't work, he tries to alter her memory. The next Xavier I'm going to mention is Lord Xavier Witch King of Genosha, or as I like to call him, Lord of the Rings Professor X, who lives on Earth 13059. This Xavier goes by Lord Xavier the Witch King, who's the tyrant ruler of Genosha. He uses a massive army of orcs and beasts to terrorize this world, capturing and eating the native crawlers, who are the human equivalent species on this Earth. Needless to say, this is one of the most out there, drastically different versions of Charles Xavier that exists. I mean, it's a witch Charles Xavier who also has mutant abilities. Crazy. Jumping to the next one, though, we have the Ruins comic by Warren Ellis, which was set in an alternate Marvel universe where everything went wrong. In this universe, the world is led by Charles Xavier, who's known as President X. He leads a corrupt regime over the United States. President X had the White House moved from Washington to Westchester, New York, letting the capital fall to corruption. In this version, Xavier also never formed the X-Men. The only X-Men character that would even be around him was Warren Worthington, aka Angel, who worked for him in his Secret Service. Any of the characters who tried to become X-Men would be locked away in a Texas prison, having them beaten in an effort to keep their powers at bay. And when the Avengers opposed Xavier with their own regime, he had their Quinjet shot down, killing them. What I'm saying is, this isn't a Charles Xavier you want to invite over to dinner. Moving along, yet again, we have Exiles Xavier, or Earth 1815 Xavier. On this Earth, the governments of the world became so scared of superpowered beings, they would pass the law Operation Zero Tolerance, which would lock away all of Earth's superpowered beings. And Charles Xavier was one of them who got incarcerated. He was sent to a maximum security facility somewhere in the Arizona desert. While there, they would hook him up to machines that nullified his power, as well as leave him in an almost catatonic state. Because of this, unlike other realities, Charles Xavier developed an extreme hatred for the entire human race. Eventually, the Exiles arrive on Earth 1815. For those of you who don't know, they're essentially reality hopping heroes. The Exiles' mission was to find this reality's best leader. And since the Exiles were mostly taught by their own realities Charles Xavier, they thought that the Xavier of this Earth would be just as noble as the ones that taught them. So they freed this Xavier, but when he looked into their minds and found out what their mission was, he was like, yeah, that peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants is a long shot and is never gonna happen. So he defeated them and headed towards Arizona to start his quest to eliminate the human race. And with that, we start entering the last three versions of Professor X we're gonna talk about, with one of them being 1602 Professor X. In this reality, Professor X is known as Carlos Javier. This is from the Marvel 1602 miniseries that was set towards the end of the Elizabethan era in an alternate reality, aka Earth 311. On this Earth, mutants are known as the witch breed, so Charles, or Carlos on this Earth, creates a school for the witch breed in order to train them and prepare them for a world that hates them. He's very protective of his students and only sends them out to retrieve other witch breeds who are in danger. It's a fascinating and cool different take on the X-Men and Professor X. I just love the whole witch breed term and not calling them mutants, because back then anything that was out of the ordinary was considered a witch. Second to last on our alternate versions list is Juggernaut Professor X from the What If Professor X had become the Juggernaut in What If Volume 2, Issue 13. In this What If reality, Professor X became the Juggernaut and was buried alive, much like Kane Marco. But because of this, Xavier never created the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four instead had to be the ones to fight Magneto. But come on, much like Kane Marco, Xavier digs himself out and now has telepathic powers that are amplified to go along with his newly found superhuman strength. He then decided to take over the country, defeating the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Daredevil, the Hulk, and Doctor Doom. It's a really fun read as we get to see Charles as the Juggernaut running shop on essentially the entire Marvel Universe, but in the end he's defeated when Quicksilver uses an explosion to launch him into space, which defeats him for the time being as it gets him off of Earth. But this brings us to the last alternate version on our list, which would be from the Amalgam Universe. This universe combines a Marvel character and a DC character to make one completely new character. And in this case, they took Professor X and mixed him with Martian Manhunter to give us Mr. X. He essentially looks like the Martian Manhunter, but uses a wheelchair like Xavier. Mr. X is essentially the brains and the money behind the formation of the JLX, essentially this world's X-Men. There's not a whole lot known about Mr. X, as he's a very mysterious character. But we do know he's a Skrull metamutant, or Skrullian, with telepathy in addition to his Skrull superhuman strength and shape-shifting ability. But there we have it, friends, several alternate versions of Professor X. Obviously, this isn't every alternate version of Xavier there is, but these are some of our favorites, or some of the most notable ones. Either way, let us know what some of your favorite alternate versions of Professor X are in the comment section below. And just like that, that brings today's episode to a close. But if you liked today's video, be sure to check out this one to my left right here. And if you like all of our content, as always, subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the channel out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.